Hi everyone, I'm Allie. Join me as I show you how to make this lovely snowflake earring, which could also be a pendant by the wonderful Chris Lewis King. We're going to be using a number of different beads, so make sure you look below the video so I can get my ears decorated with all those different supplies. There's a link there that'll get you back to our site. Gather up your materials and let's get started. All right, to start out with Chris's design idea here, I have some StormDuos, 8s, 11s, 2mm crystals, some mini duos, and some 15 seed beads. I also have an 8mm pearl here that's going to be the center of this snowflake design. I have a size 11 needle with some size 8 dragon thread, and I'm going to put on a pearl and then an 8O seed bead. I'm letting that drop down to the end of the thread, but I'm going to right away go back through the pearls and kind of lock that 8O in place on the opposite side. Do another 8O and back through the pearl again. At this point here, it creates a little locking mechanism, and that pearl is set with the 8Os on each side. Go ahead and sew through one of your 8O seed beads, and then we're going to add some StormDuos on the sides, which are SuperDuos or Mini Duos will sit inside of. Right now, we're going to pick up our StormDuos. We're going to pick them up so they almost look like tulips kind of opening up. We're going to sew through what I call the skinny side or the curve first. So we're sewing through the curve and out the bigger side of the curve. And the second one that we pick up, we're going to pick up the opposite. So we're going to pick it up on the exterior of the curve rather than the interior of the curve. This makes it sit so they're like little tulip beads. In between each of those, grab one of your 8O seed beads and then do the same thing. Skinny side, rounded side, 8O, skinny side, rounded side. And now we're going to go through the 8O that sits at the opposite side of the pearl. So I'm going over to the opposite 8O seed bead. I'm going to pull those through. You can see that pretty little design on the exterior. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Skinny side, rounded side, 8O, skinny side, rounded side, 8O, skinny side, rounded side, back through that starter 8O. And then I'm also going to go back through those first StormDuos all the way to the first 8O seed bead that I had there on the opposite side. Go ahead and pull your thread the whole way through here. And push your StormDuo beads to the exterior and make sure that everything's sitting nicely and looking good on your project that you have. If you kind of turn it to the side here, you have your pearls to the top and the bottom. They're all sitting in the way that they should be, with the beads facing on the exterior, that you have your kind of tulips open there and along the side. From here, we're going to go in and do our second row of our project. For our second row, we're going to come through one of the next of our StormDuo beads, the first one in one of our tublets. You can tell where you are because it's a space that doesn't have a seed bead in between. And we're going to step up, so we're going to the top hole of the StormDuos. We're going to take a trip around with the top holes, getting things added between. Between the StormDuo sets above the 8O seed bead, I want you to add one tiny 15O seed beads. That'll allow your StormDuo sets to sit wide open and kind of pull them back. Sewing through that next StormDuo, then we're going to do a mini duo, followed by an 8O seed bead, followed by a mini duo, and on to the next one. In between the sets, then again, right over, sorry there, I got stuck on my pliers. Right in between those two next sets, add your next 15O seed bead and through your next StormDuo. You're going to do this the whole way around. You're going to add in then your mini duo, 8O, mini duo, through the next one, and a 15O connecting them. So you can see your snowflakes sitting nice and open, and you have 4 more of those to add. After going in and adding that row, we're going to step up, and I've brought the camera a little bit closer so you can see what happens next. You don't want to pull the thread too tight because you don't want it to kind of collapse on itself as you're working on it, or to get too tight in the mix. We are going to add a 15O seed bead and step up from the first hole of the second mini duo there and go into the interior of the design near the 8O seed bead. From here, we are going to add another one of our mini duos. with a 15-0 on each side and go through. What I want to do now is add one more 15-0, and I'm going to kind of sneak down my thread and needle into that mini duo and back around to coming out through that exterior first hole of the mini duo on the opposite side. Once you're through there, go ahead through your 15-0 seed bead that you just put on the exterior there, and we're going to create our little bit of our peak or our point. So after this comes an 11-0 and a crystal, oops, and a 15-0. So 11, crystal, 15, through that top hole of your piece here, 15, crystal, 11, through that bottom 15 there. And that's going to get that start of that upper edge. From here, I want you to go from that 15 in between to the upper hole of that SuperDuo at the base. We're just kind of sneak it in there. We're going to take our needle and thread the whole way over, then to the exterior on the opposite side, going through the 15 after the SuperDuo mini, through that mini. And then when you come to the exterior on the opposite side, you're going to go through the 15, up through the 11, up through the crystal, up through the 15. And when we get to the top here, you're going to add a 15, a crystal, and a 15, and down through all those side beads. And see how that just pops that crystal up there right nice and beautifully on the top. Come back down then through those seed beads along the side here, through that 15. And now we get to go the whole way over to the next set and repeat that same thing. So you're going to take your needle and thread, drop it down here, do a little wiggling, sew through the 8-0, the mini duo there, bring your needle out the other side, sew through that StormDuo, 15 StormDuo, sew through those sets of mini duo, 8 mini duo, and come back out of 15 and add in the 15 SuperDuo 15. So make sure that you're doing each petal the same. What I always like to encourage people is to go ahead and rewind, and you can watch again and again those different sections if you need help adding on your next point. As I go in now and put in my last of my little snowflake area here, I'll show this again in real time. Going through here. And I know it's a lot of thread going through the base and everything, but it really does help to go in and to stabilize it. So this is not one of those projects that's very flimsy because you're going through it constantly with this thread. And the last thing I'm going to encourage you to do is go around to the interior thread anyway and reinforce that as well. So here at the top, going in, 15, and my crystal, and my pendant, down to my side here, going back through the project. You can kind of sneak back through that middle one if you want. Back through here, or you can take it back down to the base, it's up to you. And as I sneak through the side here, without hitting my beads, you're going to go up through the project. I always like to sew from right to the left. I'm going to go up through the project, and as you get to the top here, I'm still going to add that top of that snowflake. Now, every snowflake is different. It's up to you whether or not you want to add that top. But I'm going to add the 15 and the crystal, and the crystal is going to sit a little bit differently on this one. I'm going to take my wire guard here, or my wire guardian, and I'm going to pinch it closed very lightly and just bring that into a nice point. From here, I'm going to add my crystal after my 15-0. I'm going to go up through my wire guard, and we'll take our thread and needle through here twice. So we've got our 15, our crystal, our wire guard, back down through the wire guard, back down through the crystal, add another one of our 15s, and come back down the side of the project. Pull that thread and needle, making sure that it's nice and tight and that you don't have any that's escaping that thread guard, and then reinforce going back through and having that there. You can also see on Chris's here, she took it to the exterior and made it a little bit more wide open versus that drop. It's completely up to you how you want to do that opening versus that drop. Also, I wanted to show you the variety. If you don't have some mini duos, but you have super duos, if you look here where I added the 15s between each, you don't need to if you're using the SuperDuo beads. They sit just that little bit bigger. And now all I have to do, after reinforcing, weave my thread through, open up my ear wire, or use one of the huggy earrings, put my earring onto my ear wire, and then burn off my thread ends. Now, obviously, I've made these in snowy colors, and Chris's example was in snowy colors. But if you want to, you can make this in bright colors, and it's going to look more floral rather than snowflakey. So this is an awesome design. I can't wait to see the different colors that everybody does, and make sure to post your pictures in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Thanks so much for joining me to make this King Snowflake. If you do want any of the materials to make this guy, remember, when you are looking for it, below the video, there's a link there. As always, thank you, Chris Lewis King, for the inspiration and for the design idea. You can check out some of her other videos on our webpage as well. As always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here. And thank you so much, Potomac Beaders, and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.